Time is running out. Time is running out for the Nigerian government. Recall that Donald Trump, the president of the United States of America, gave the president of Nigeria ultimatum, gave him time, saying, you cannot pretend not to be aware of, in quote, Christian genocide. Now, there are some who have argued, they said there is nothing specifically like Christian genocide. They said, look, if you call it genocide, if you call it general crime, we will accept and embrace it. But to single out Christians as if Christians are being persecuted in Nigeria, it sounds horrible. It's a big fat lie. You're simply looking for an opportunity to come into Nigeria, having lost ground in the Middle East, having lost ground in the Arabian and Persian Gulf and Peninsula and all of that. You want to dig your fingers into Nigeria, the populous African country in the continent. Well, the United States said, no, that is not what we are for. We want to deal, condemn the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. And we are standing ready to support the President Donald J. Trump in taking decisive action to end the existential threat that persecuted Christians face in Nigeria. Now, for those who are non-Nigerians, and this persecution, hatred, is in the north of Nigeria. Well, as it is right now, there is a resolution, and the Congress are meeting again to put an end to this menace. I'm going to go through what is written. It is the 119th Congress, 2025 to 2026. I'm going to go through what is written here, condemning the persecution of Christians in Nigeria and standing ready to support President Donald J. Trump in taking decisive action to end the existential threat that persecuted Christians face in Nigeria. In the House of Representatives, these are the names of those who are present as at November 7, 2025. So what is the resolution? What exactly? Condemning the persecution of Christians in Nigeria and standing ready to support Trump in taking decisive action to end the existential threat that persecuted Christians face in Nigeria. Whereas Nigeria is experiencing the highest level of violence against Christians in the world since Boko Haram insurgency began in 2009. Boko Haram, the Islamic State West African province, ISWAP, and Fulani militants. Now, I like the inclusion of Fulani militants. Some call them bandits like Sheikh Gumi. He went on to say that this group of hoodlums, criminals, bloodsuckers have systematically targeted Christian communities through massacre, church burning, kidnapping, and terrible violence, leaving villages destroyed and millions displaced. Whereas estimates indicate that between 50,000 to 100,000 Christians have been martyred for their faith since 2009, with more than 7,000 Christians unalived in 2025. An average of 35 Christians are taken every day, unalived every day. Over 19,000 churches attacked or destroyed. Whereas in Benue and Plateau states alone, more than 9,500 people, mostly Christians, were unalived between May 2023 and May 2025 by Fulani militants, while more than 500,000 were displaced from their homes. That is not a lie. Homes, yes, that's why we have the IDP camps, of course, we have the IDP camps. Now, the question that begs to an answer, a lot of people will want to clarify this. The IDP camps, are there Muslims there or Christians there? So the truth of the matter is that both Muslims are also experiencing the same. They are experiencing the same. Now, you might want to know why. There is no reason. We do not have to give reasons to why this group of vampires will hunt, will dispose, will unalive kinsmen, or let's say other ethnic group or tribe or tribes in the north or middle belt of Nigeria, they do not have any reason. They are wicked, evil people that need to be cut off. Gumi should be one of those that should be taken out of circulation. It went on to talk about this religious cleansing as demonstrated by coordinated assaults during Christian holy days, such as the 2022 Pentecost Massacre, Christmas Eve 2023 Massacre, and the Holy Week 2025 killings that claimed hundreds of Christians' lives. In fact, it happened in the southwest of Nigeria. For the first time, these same goons entered into a church and they unalived almost everybody in that church. It happened in Ondo State, for those who might have forgotten what happened. So we cannot say there is no persecution. It is a target. This is called terrorism. It's the same thing. If you say Christian genocide, it's the same thing. So I repeat again, Gumi and others who are partaker, who are sponsors and patrons, should be dealt with. Now, I go on with what is written here. Despite assertion that such violence arises from general instability rather than specific targeting of Christians, when adjusted for population sizes in various states, Christians in Nigeria have been unalived at a rate at least 5 times higher than that of Muslims, meaning they are aware that Muslims are also being unalived, but the balance as regards population, they can as well say that Christians are being unalived much more. Countless pastors and priests have been kidnapped, tortured, or murdered. With over 250 clergy attacked or unalived in the past decade, including the recent tragedy of Father Sylvester Okechukwu, who was kidnapped and he was unalived on Ash Wednesday in 2025. Now, the Nigerian government has repeatedly failed to respond to the early warnings of impending attacks, such as the 14th of October, 2025, massacre in Rachas village, Plateau State, where a pastor warning of a Fulani offensive was dismissed by the Nigerian army, who publicly condemned the pastor for disseminating fake news and accused him of stoking division. And at least a dozen Christians were unalived the next day. This is what we are talking about. If you dig deeper, you will realize that that particular Nigerian army that this pastor reported or gave the intel to is probably a Fulani, partly a Fulani or fully a Fulani, or Hausa. And the most important, he is a Muslim. That is the reason why he cares less and he does not want to know. We hope that Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government or Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself will take this to heart and deal with it, because time is ticking. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. They said, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you stated in September 2025 that there is no religious persecution in Nigeria, despite overwhelming documentation to the contrary. I think it's best I stop here. Ladies and gentlemen, as it is, President Donald Trump announced his decision to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern, CPC, on October 31st, 2025. Well, if you say, Tinubu, the characterization of Nigeria as a religiously intolerant does not reflect our national reality, despite the reality that more Christians have been unalived in Nigeria than the rest of the world combined. As it is, ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts as regards this? Just imagine, in Nigeria, if it is one, how come the northern part of Nigeria has Sharia functioning? What does that mean? 12 northern states under Sharia criminal law. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Like I said, if we continue to press and push on this, a lot of people will be downcasted. Even as I speak right now, the report that dropped on our decks is that Some of these criminals have abducted some girls in a school somewhere in the northern part of Nigeria. As I speak today, I'm talking about today, Tuesday, 18th of November 2025. And it happened some couple of hours ago in broad daylight. It happened on the 17th. Broad daylight. Broad daylight. I want to talk about Yakubu Deborah, who faced mob violence, or Rhoda Jatao, and the rest of them some imprisonment and over what they call blasphemy of Muhammad.